Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of DudeWutPodcast. My name's Harry Dowling, and today I am joined by my very good friend, Mr. Callum Hamby. How the hell you doing, bro?
Doing very well, thank you. Yeah, very, very well.
Good.
Yeah, had a busy day, so
Yeah,
I'm
man.
just coming from work, so just like, yeah, I know.
I think me and you we've had pretty much the opposite days because I have had the most chill day doing pretty much nothing. We're recording this podcast is coming out a few days late because we usually record on a Monday night, but Monday this week was full on Halloween, so we had stuff to do, so we've pushed it back by a couple of days, and we're now recording it on a Wednesday, and Wednesday is usually my day off work, so I have spent the day sort of with the dogs and on the new Call of Duty, which is going to be the main topic of this podcast. But yeah, I've had a pretty chilled day, man.
Well,
what have you been up to last week or so, bro?
Not an awful lot really. Been a bit of a chilled one. Kind of just mainly work and stuff. Honestly, man, nothing really of note. I think it's been pretty chill.
It's just sort of the everyday of being an adult, isn't it? Where it's literally just work, come home, have dinner, go to bed, go to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, get a few games of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, man. Sorry, not very exciting, but yeah,
no,
that's pretty much what my week's been like.
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like, I've only literally got 1 point for what I've been doing this week, and that is just like basically watching movies. It's October. Well, it's not now, but it has been October. Spooky season. I'm a spooky boy, but I don't really like horror films very much. Not because I just don't like them or they're scary or whatever. It's actually the opposite. It's that I generally find horror films pretty lame because they just don't scare me like say a horror video game does. I think it's something to do with being sort of passive when you're watching a film as opposed to like active. But yeah, it doesn't really do it for me. So October is like a month I set aside to just sort of watching as many horror films as possible to just sort of keep up to date with all the new ones. So I watched three, which I've made a note of, which I thought were pretty good. I watched one called Barbarian, which is like a brand new one. Pretty good. It's got Justin Long in it. It's just sort of creepy Airbnb with a creepy woman living in there. That's the general. That's basically the film. Creepy Airbnbs in a bad neighborhood. But yeah, no, that was pretty good. So I'd recommend that. I also watched a film called The Black Phone, which is like a new Ethan Hawke one. That was pretty good. Probably not as good as some of Ethan Hawke's other kind of horror films. Like I think he was in Sinister. I think that was quite good. It was all right. It was sort of. It's still sort of supernatural, but it was a bit more realistic because it's about a guy that literally just like snatches children off the street. So it's pretty horrible. And then the third one I watched was. So I'm getting into the films of Robert Eggers at the minute. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his films.
No, not come across that.
His latest one was a film called The Northman, which I didn't really like very much. But his style is just sort of... It's very unique. It's very... like kind of gritty. I don't really know how to describe his style, really. But the third film I watched was a film called The Lighthouse, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It's listed as a horror, but it's not a horror. It's just sort of a sort of a what the hell was that kind of movie.
Yeah.
There's literally only two cast members. It's Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. It's all black and white. It's just sort of about two lighthouse keepers on a isolated island with a lighthouse, and they're just basically both of them are just going mad. There's a lot more to it than that, but yeah, really good, really, really good. Willem Dafoe just sort of talking like a sailor the whole time. It reminded me of that meme that I often post to our pal Tomo. When he posts something in the group, I'll post the one of Willem Dafoe saying, "Look at ye, posting cringe." That's taken straight out of there. So So yeah, watch some spooky films. And actually, last night I watched another one. Actually, I watched another Robert Eggers film called The Witch that came out in 2015. Kind of cool. Yeah, as I said, October, I got to get all the spooky films out of my system, and then I legit won't watch another one until like next October.
Yeah.
So, have you seen any spooky films recently, bro?
No, I'm not really that into them either, and my girlfriend really isn't either. So we don't really watch them at all, really, unless like we have to. Like, no, we don't really watch horror movies.
I watch horror comedy. Horror comedies are good. You know, like you watch that all year round. But yeah, like I find a lot of horror movies to be just kind of too try hard. Like you'll be sat there watching it, and like all the sound will go, and you're like, oh, okay, so there's going to be a jump scare, and then there's a big ooh, and it's just sort of like, oh, okay, right, just I don't know. I think horror is one of those genres that just doesn't really work for me so well. But talking about video games, what I mentioned briefly earlier, horror video games I think are fantastic because there's something about you actually controlling the character and kind of creeping around a corner that if there is something there, you're like, oh crap, because you're like into it, you know. I like that on non-horror games, you know, getting jumped by some dingus running in front of me in Call of Duty. Okay, that's really all I've been up to the last week. I've just been working. I do have some stuff on later in the week. Fee is she's already graduated from uni, her uni course that she's did, but it's the big ceremony thing on Friday, so I've got that to go to. But yeah, that's the same as me, man. Just work, and it's been pretty boring. Dude, I'm getting thirsty. How's about we move on to everyone's favourite segment? It's What Are We Drinking?
What are we drinking?
Alright, Hammers, you said to me just before we started this podcast that you went to Aldi, like the mecca of like weird beers. So, what the hell did you buy from Aldi, bro?
Well, I got a pretty boring one, actually.
Oh,
I kind of just grabbed the first one I saw.
Sure.
I was in a bit of a rush. It's Harper's Brewing Company IPA.
Cool. A proper hoppy IPA.
A proper hoppy IPA, 5.5%. Crisp beer with citrus aromas and bittersweet finish. I think this is one that's been... Yeah, this is like especially for Aldi. So,
okay.
Yeah. That's really nice. It is very hoppy. It's very nice, but it's also like quite refreshing as well. It's actually I didn't really know I really wanted or needed a beer until I've got one. I'm like, actually, it hits a spot.
Yeah.
Actually, it's quite nice. It's quite nice. Yeah, that's really nice and bready and hoppy and stuff. Yeah, lovely.
So the look of the bottle reminds me of the HPA.
It might be a rip off of that, to be fair. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's got a bit more blue on the label, but the way the text is written, it reminds me of sort of an HPA bottle. HPA, obviously, Herefordshire Pale Ale, is it?
It's made by Y Valley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really nice. Recommend it.
Yeah.
£1.30 or something. It's really cheap.
Oh, that's cheap. Yeah, that is cheap. Nice big bottle. That looks refreshing. Yeah, man. Nice pick.
Badass.
Well, I've got a beer that I have had before quite a few times, actually, but every time I go and get one, or I go to get one, they're gone. They're sold out. So I haven't had it in, got to be at least a month now. So I went, I saw it, it was on the shelf, I grabbed two. I actually got them for last night because, as I say, I was off work today, so I thought I'm going to have a late one, going to watch some horror films and sink some beers. And I, as I said to Hamby just before we started, I fully passed out on the sofa. Probably like 11:30, woke up at 4:30, groggy as hell, and just went straight to bed. So I didn't even get round to having any beers. So I've got them tonight. It is a Blue Moon Mango Wheat.
Lovely.
Now, Blue Moon is... it's one of those beers that's sort of like... it's hard to say. It's sort of like the generic like wheat beer, or it's sort of becoming like the generic wheat beer. And you know, it's sort of the one that if you don't know anything about wheat beers, you'll have a blue moon kind of thing. But this one is actually very nice. It's very tasty. Mango wheat. It's something that you wouldn't... It doesn't sound like it should work, you know, like mangoes and wheat. But, yeah, you know, it's a nice little bottle. It's a 5.4%. It just says crafted with ripe mango. It's ice cold. Obviously, it's been in there since last night. So, I'm going to crack this bad boy and take a swig. Was that my drill bottle opener you were laughing at? Yeah. I've lost all the other ones in this room somewhere. Yeah, that is very nice. It smells like straight up mango juice.
Mango.
It's very fruity. I don't know if you'd like this, Hamby.
I'm not really a fan of those kind of beers, to be fair.
Yeah,
like,
it's...
I don't... Yeah, I'll have like one, but more than that, it's kind of a little bit sickly for me.
It's probably one of the fruitiest fruit sort of beers I've ever had, to be honest. It's so fruity, but not in a bad way, because I really like that. However, I have had one time, I had 3 of these in one sitting, and it did make me feel rough. Not like headachy or anything. Like almost like the fruitiness was too much.
It's too much,
and it made me feel sick. You know. Get fruity, mango, wheat, blue moon. Honestly, if you're walking down the beer aisle and this catches your eye, pick it up, because you're in for an experience. All right. Let's leave the drinks there, bro.
What are we drinking?
Okay, everyone, little bit of entertainment news. Now, last week, it was quite a short episode. It was actually a bit of a fail, to be fair. That quiz that we did last week was like... definitely needed some sort of planning beforehand. So apologies about that episode. But me and Hamby did the episode last week, and we quite liked how it was only maybe 39 minutes or something. So, and I know that previously some episodes have been big boys, you know, like just under 2 hours. If we've got something real big to talk about, like a new Chili Pepper album or a concert that we're going to or something, yeah, you know, we'll do the big ones. But we're going to try and sort of roll the runtime back a little bit with these podcasts now. So, entertainment news, got a few stories, sort of the biggest things of the week or the things that I found the most interesting. So, first bit of news. Now, this is something that, I mean, I was going to say it came out of nowhere. It kind of did, but it kind of didn't at the same time. The news, this comes from The Hollywood Reporter, and the news is that director James Gunn, and Peter Safran are to lead the film, TV, and animation division over at DC. So DC, obviously the sort of DC EU or whatever they're calling it, the sort of DC comic book character movie universe, they have been looking for their Kevin Feige, their guiding man, for a long time now. And they've been looking, and anyway, they announced the other day that James Gunn and Peter Safran are now co-CEOs of that. James Gunn, it's an interesting choice because he has a very unique, movie style, and obviously not every film in the DCU, which is what it's called now, is going to be his style, but it's definitely going to be influenced by him. So we'll have to see how that goes. I think they're probably going to be way better movies than they have been. We'll have to see. Anyway, the news says that in a stunning turn of events, filmmaker James Gunn and producer Peter Safran have been tapped to lead DC's film, TV, and animation efforts as co-chairs and co-CEOs of DC Studios, a newly formed division over at Warner Brothers that will replace DC Films. The unprecedented move, which in which a top director will assume a top executive post, marks the end of a months-long search by Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav to replace DC Films boss Walter Hamada, who departed the studio last week. That search had all of Hollywood guessing and playing executive bingo for who would land one of the most coveted and challenging jobs in town. As I said, I think it's probably a good move for DC. I think that they are, they've been sort of directionless in the movies, and with James Gunn sort of heading the creative side of it, I think it's been pretty good. I thought that the most recent The Suicide Squad was actually a pretty good film, or funny anyway, entertaining, interesting stuff going on over at DC Studios. Next little bit of news. Now, this is something that I found out while I was playing a game of Call of Duty with Hamby. One of our friends said something like, "What the hell's this?" and posted this, this bit of news. I looked into it, and it's true. The news is that Henry Cavill is leaving Netflix's The Witcher, and Geralt of Rivia is being recast. Now, when I saw this, I was sort of like, "What? That can't be true," I'm quite a big fan of Henry Cavill. I don't really like him as Superman, but I do like pretty much everything else he's done. And actually, I'm kind of rooting. He's one of my top 2 picks for James Bond to replace Craig as James Bond. I think he basically has the look already. My only criticism for that is I think he's probably a bit too huge to be Bond at the minute, but he can slim down, So it's true. Netflix announced it through their Twitter, I think. So season 3 has already been filmed, and I think comes out probably, I want to say end of this year, but it's probably going to be middle of next year, towards the end of next year. But after that, from season 4 onwards, it's going to be Chris Hemsworth, which is not Chris Hemsworth, Liam Hemsworth.
His brother.
His brother. One of the 3 Hemsworth brothers, which is an interesting choice. So the news is that Henry Cavill is leaving Netflix's The Witcher after season 3, widely regarded as the best thing about the fantasy drama and a crucial part of its success. The departure will no doubt shock fans of the series. And then it goes on to say that he's being replaced by Liam Hemsworth. Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think that Henry Cavill is the best thing about that series. He is obviously a big nerd, which is good. He loves the games, he loves the books, and he has brought his kind of fandom to that show, to that role. And I just don't think it's going to be as good without him, to be honest. I know that there were a lot of troubles over Netflix about it. I think the showrunners wanted to completely ignore the games and books, and Henry Cavill was constantly sort of like, "We can't do that, we have to acknowledge the books," and he was trying to bring the character of Geralt from the books and the games to the series. And I think, that combined with him obviously being a big role in the previously mentioned DC Studios sort of thing now, he's just super busy, so he's not going to be doing it. Liam Hemsworth, obviously a bit younger. I've got a feeling that season 4 is probably going to be a prequel series, all about kind of Geralt and him doing the sort of Witcher trials and stuff like that. I'm a fan of The Witcher, so I will try it, but I don't have much hope for it. And Netflix has a pretty cutthroat reputation for just axing shows, so we'll see if this season 4 even comes to light. That information came from Forbes, by the way. Alright, next bit of news, and that is that, a little while ago it was sort of leaked, I think it was leaked or announced, I don't know, that Disney Plus were working on a Wonder Man series. And this bit of news is that Disney Plus have cast actor Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as its lead character, Wonder Man. This news comes from The Wrap, And it says that Marvel Studios' Wonder Man series has found its lead role in Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. Per reports, marking the actor's third foray into comic book territory following his roles in HBO's Watchmen and DC's Aquaman. So I think he played the character of Black Manta in Aquaman, and he was also more recently in the fourth Matrix film as the Morpheus character, which I thought he was pretty good in, actually. So it says a live-action Wonder Man show from Marvel Studios was announced back in June, with Andrew Guest serving as the head writer. He's the guy that wrote the Hawkeye series, and the executive producer. Along with Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings filmmaker Destin Daniel Cretton, who is also an EP and is co-developing the project as part of his overall deal with Marvel and Onyx Collective. And then I sort of had to do a little search as to who the hell Wonder Man is, because I'd never heard of him, to be honest. So it says that in the comics, Wonder Man centers on Simon Williams, an actor and stuntman who was a founding member of the Los Angeles-based West Coast Avengers. Williams inherited his father's industrial munitions plant and fell on hard times due to competition with Tony Stark's Stark Industries. Eventually, Williams goes to work for villain Baron Zemo, who gives him superhuman abilities. Despite being an initial adversary to the Avengers, he later joins them. That sounds kind of cool. So I wonder if... Well, actually, it says it's going to be a series. Last week, we spoke a little bit about the Marvel... the special presentations that they've recently started doing, where rather than do a 6-hour series, they'll do like a 1-hour mini movie kind of thing. I was just going to say, I wonder if this would be a mini movie or a series, but I guess they're going down the series route for it.
Yeah.
Alright, next and last bit of news, Marvel related again, and that is that the first reactions for Black Panther Wakanda Forever have come in. Now, this film actually comes out in like 9 days or something. It comes out real soon. I'm going to book tickets for it because, yeah, I always go to see those Marvel movies on the big IMAX screen because, you know, they're like a big event, aren't they? It's quite fun. So apparently it's pretty positive. There's a lot of people saying it's very good. But these initial reactions are usually always super positive because Marvel is not going to let someone come out and be like, that film was shit. So yeah, it's super positive. One person said that while Chadwick's absence is felt, the cast's performance is phenomenal. The dude playing Namor, I can't remember his name, is been praised, you know, and I can't even remember. Is it Angela Bassett, the woman who plays T'Challa's mom and Shuri's mom? She's being praised, as well as now apparently Rihanna has done an original song for this film. That song is being pretty heavily praised as well, so you'll have to wait and see. I mean, reviews will obviously come out, more reviews will come out closer to the time, but for now, people are saying that it's the best film of Phase 4, because I think that it actually is the sort of the closing film for Marvel Studios Phase 4. So, are you going to watch that, bro? Did you like the first Black Panther?
It was alright. I've seen the first one, and, like, it was okay. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Probably will see it, but it might be when it comes on, like, Disney+.
Well, it's only going to be probably 6 weeks or so before it'll be out on Disney+. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you. I thought that the first film was pretty good. It was all right. I thought that it went rapidly downhill right at the end, though. What started as kind of a really cool film with cool action and stuff ended up just being a CGI shitfest with two dudes in cat outfits kind of swinging around and hitting each other in like dark suits in a dark room. It was just didn't look very good.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of kind of Marvel are moving towards this thing now where rather than have like practical suits, all the suits now are kind of like CG'd, which means they have to just kind of pop pop an actor's head on top of a CG body, and I thought that was pretty obvious in Black Panther, actually. But anyway, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, supposed to be very good. Alright, so let's move on to the main meat of this podcast. Now, as I said before, we're going to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. We were going to do like a spooky episode. We fully missed the whole spooky season. As I said, this episode got pushed back, and I thought, you know what, when it comes out, it's now going to be like early November. So let's just, we missed it. We missed the spooky times. So we're going to do a little review of, our thoughts and opinions on the recently released Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now, this game came out for like 5 days ago. Was it? On the 28th of last month. So it's fresh. It's still very fresh. Some people played the campaign massively early, like you, Mr. Hamby. Yep. I played it a little bit early. So how this is going to work, we're going to follow the same kind of format that we do when we do our album reviews. And that is, first we're going to talk through some pros and some standout moments of like the campaign. Then we're going to do some cons, again, of the campaign. Then we're going to talk multiplayer. And then we're going to give a sort of a brief rundown. So we're coming up on like 26 minutes or so. Don't know how long this is going to go on for. But before we start, it'd be real interesting to know what you think of this recent Call of Duty. Because I've got a feeling it's going to be pretty... Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. So let me know what you think. Send an email, dudewutpodcast@gmail.com. And while you're at it, sending emails to us, actually, recommend some beers. I know I say like every week, but recommend us some beers. I'd be down for trying some proper weird stuff. All right, Hamby. I've got a lot of notes, so I'll start. Now, this is pros and standout moments of the campaign. The first point I had was I think it's a great cast. As in, characters, not necessarily voice actors. It's a great cast of characters. I would go so far to say that this is the ultimate lineup of Call of Duty characters. They tried to do a similar thing with the recent Cold War sort of Black Ops storyline with like Mason and all whatever characters, but Soap, Gaz, Ghost, the rest of them, Price. That's Call of Duty like Modern Warfare, isn't it? That's the ultimate cast of characters. We'll try not to go into pros. I do have some cons. I do have some cons about those characters as well. But yeah, I think it's a really good cast. Have you got any pros or standout moments of the campaign, bro?
I think the pacing of the campaign is pretty good on the whole.
Yeah.
Like, I think like it's very fast at the start, and then it kind of the missions are a little bit more drawn out towards the end. But actually, I quite like that, and it actually made me like get into it quite quickly. Like, before I knew it, I was pretty far into it, and I was really I was relatively engaged in it.
I'd agree with that.
I think that's definitely a plus point for the campaign. Good pacing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's one of those campaigns that it's sort of over before you know it because you're into it. I mean, you can bash this out in probably about 6 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe like 5 if you like run gun the whole thing. But yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think that it's it's really good pacing. That moves us on to my point, which is that I think this has some really good classic, air quotes, classic COD missions. There's a mission on this called Kill or Capture, which is very sort of room cleary, which is actually kind of my favourite Call of Duty, slow, steady, opening doors. Is there a guy in there? Is there not? Did I just shoot a civilian by accident? Yes, I did. Kill or Capture, room clearing missions. Then you've also got the big action set pieces. There's a mission called Violence and Timing, which is... It's kind of a strange mission because the first half of the mission is probably my favourite mission in the game, and the second half of the mission is probably my least favourite mission in the game. But it basically involves the character you're playing as, I think it's Gaz. He gets knocked out of a helicopter, and he's then sort of tied to the helicopter, hanging upside down with a pistol, shooting at like a massive convoy of cars that are flying down a highway. Really big action, and you're just sort of like, oh my god, while you're playing it, and like you were saying about the pacing, it's fast. It doesn't leave you literally hanging there just doing nothing. It's really fast, and you're just sort of like spraying. It's really good. So some good classic COD missions there. Got any pros?
Yeah, I think the campaign looks incredible. So all the way down to the actual, because the campaign does look better than the multiplayer. That's like kind of to be expected.
Yeah,
but the campaign really is really, really nice. Even from the first kind of cinematic piece where you're kind of in the desert as Ghost.
Yeah.
All the way to the Amsterdam mission as well. It looks incredible. The actual, because it's all obviously the actors and actresses' faces. The actual kind of cutscenes are kind of like you're watching a movie, basically.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, I think it's possibly the best graphics have been so far in video gaming.
It's close.
I'd go so far as to say that the cinematics are phenomenal. The graphics are insane. And even what you were saying, even the gameplay graphics are crazy good. There is a bit at the beginning, right when you start the game, where it's a cinematic, and then it sort of moves seamlessly into a mission, and Ghost kind of walks through some rocks, and I was thinking it was a cinematic still, but it wasn't. It was kind of like the mission had started, and I was like, whoa, this is very good. We are playing it on, the Series X. Don't know what it's going to look like on the older consoles, but it's phenomenal. So that was actually my next point. The graphics are insane. The hair looks great. The beards look great. You can see, whenever Price is on screen, he's got that kind of handlebar mustache thing. You can see all the light shining off the individual beard hairs and stuff. Very good. And one thing I noticed as well is characters' eyes. The way they're looking around and stuff, it's so natural. It just looks crazy real. Yeah, insanely good graphics. I mean, the graphics were good on Modern Warfare 1 in the cutscene, in the cinematics, but this is just builds on what was really good.
I was playing Modern Warfare on an Xbox One.
Yeah. My next point is that I think the gunplay is the best it's ever been. I would say that it's possibly the best controlling and feeling first-person shooter so far in video games.
Yeah.
It's just sort of, I can't say feels real because I've never fired an assault rifle into a crowd of people or something, so don't know about that. But the guns feel punchy, the sounds are amazing, obviously with the graphics as well on the guns. It's crazy good. It's very good,
Yeah.
I don't know what I can say other than the gunplay is phenomenal. It's very, very good. One thing I like to do when I'm playing through the campaign is pick up lots of different guns and just fire them to just sort of see what the animation is and the noise and stuff. And yeah, especially the sound design, it's incredible. There were definitely times where I had to turn my TV volume right down because I was using an assault rifle, and I then picked up an LMG, and the LMG was so goddamn loud,
Yeah.
But yeah, very, very good, very good. You got any more pros or standout moments, bro?
I think standout moments, I can't remember what the mission is called, but it's the one where you're in the ghillie suits and that was probably one of my favorite mission in the game, actually, that mission.
You keep mentioning literally the point that I have next. That's twice you've done it now.
Oh, sorry.
It's what I was. No, it's fine. The mission's called Recon by Fire.
Recon by Fire.
Carry on, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, there's a lot of strong missions in the campaign. And I feel like this one is kind of the most... It's kind of your typical COD mission. It starts off pretty sneaky, but actually I quite liked it, how in parts you kind of do it how you wanted. So, like, if you wanted to go in all guns a-blazing, you could. But if you wanted to kind of take things a bit slower and kind of pick people off, like, you could do that as well. And then there was also like different ways of like flushing the enemies out of the barns and things. I just thought I thought it was a really great mission.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got that as my next point. There was some really nice throwbacks to old school air quotes COD missions. Recon by Fire is the mission Hamby was talking about, where you're in the ghillie suit. It's basically all ghillied up too.
Yeah.
It even features some of the similar, things that made that mission great. Like, for example, someone's walking towards you, you've got to stay still, and you've got to hope that they walk past you. I actually found that kind of difficult. It took me a couple of goes, I kept just lying there and they're just walking into me like, what the hell?
It's got to move really slowly.
Yeah. Like they wouldn't see you, though, What the hell? The bush is rolling along the floor. But yeah, no, some nice throwbacks to old school Modern Warfare missions. I think it did the fans good with that. All right, if you don't have any more pros or standout moments, I don't. We've gone through them all. How's about we move on to some cons of the campaign?
Yeah.
I've got quite a lot of notes.
So have
I.
Yeah. Like me and you spoken a lot about this. I'll start off with the cons first.
Go.
I don't think it has enough kind of classic COD missions. When it does the classic COD missions, it does it well. But I think it tries to do, and I'm sure we'll go on to this more, it tries to do lots of new things and lots of like weird things. And I think often it kind of veers away from what it does very well. And often you're like, that mission was really good, but then the next mission I'm doing something silly like a crafting mechanic, or I'm doing that, what's it called, the AC-130 mission, which is not that great. It's there's a lot of stuff like that I feel like just stick with what people want, or have other things, things in there, but the 90% of the game should be COD missions.
Yeah, definitely. I fully agree with that, man. My biggest con, I've got a lot of cons, but my biggest con is that the actual campaign story just didn't live up to Modern Warfare 1.
It's not, no, I on the whole, I did not think the story was very good.
It's like disappointing, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying to you, like, there were several things. The one thing, I didn't really think the stakes were that high. For starters, didn't think the stakes were that high. I didn't think the main bad guy was that interesting.
Who was the main bad guy?
Hassan.
The bald guy. I don't even know who Hassan really is.
And Graves, to a degree, but still, like, I just didn't think. I didn't think the kind of the bad guys, if you like, were that interesting or engaging. It was just they're going to set a missile off. It's like, okay, like, is that it? Like, there wasn't really anything else other than that.
So I should say, I think we're going to be talking spoilers. So here's your spoiler warning. If you haven't played the campaign yet, and you care about playing it and not having it spoiled, best skip ahead a little bit. If not, just carry on, but we are going to spoil it. I fully agree with you, man. There was no stakes whatsoever. The whole story revolves around some, 3 missiles that have been stolen from the US government, and you have to, hunt them down. But you never see, the bombs do any damage. There's one bit where a bomb gets away from you, and you're sort of like, oh my god, really hit the fan. And no, it's all right. You can just push a button on like an iPad and disable the bomb in the air. There's no sense of danger. Like, who really cares about the bombs?
The dumb thing is that I would almost kind of understand the story if it was like this terrorist organization has got like a nuke or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah.
It's just you see one of the bombs go off on the oil rig, and like obviously it's a big bomb, but it's not like destroy an entire city kind of bomb. It's like
no, it's like a three blocks kind of bomb.
Yeah. But like I just thought like if it was like I mean I'm not. You say like this terrorist organization has got a nuke. It's like okay, the stakes are a little bit higher. They're gonna
yeah. But it's sort of like they say towards the end that the bombs are targeting Washington. They're targeting the not the White House, the Pentagon.
Yeah.
If you'd have let that bomb hit the Pentagon, it would be like, oh crap, like there are real stakes here. Like how are we going to do this? And it would. So that sort of comes towards the end of the game. It would not only set up another game, but it would be like, oh my god, end the game on like a big we failed kind of thing.
So the thing that I didn't really understand is that in the original Modern Warfare 2, and I think this is going to come in the next the next game, I think. But so the whole story of the original Modern Warfare like trilogy, if you like, was that like this war between Russia and the USA got started by like a false flag kind of thing, where like the Russian nationalists like Makarov like did the no Russia thing, and basically that's how the war started. And I thought when I was playing this game, I was like, I thought that was where it was going. I thought it was like, like they're going to declare war on each other like accidentally, if you like, and like that's going to happen. And it'll be a similar story to the original games. I think, it just didn't really happen. I think towards the end of the story, and the fact that like they've brought characters in the final cutscene.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's going to be like the original trilogy, but where like I loved the original trilogy because it was like you had the missions where the Russians invaded the US, basically. I hope they do that because that was like a really interesting, and the stakes are high. You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, this feels like quite serious.
Yeah, it just. Another example of the stakes is that the whole crew, all like 10 characters or whatever, they all survive to the end. Not a single death in the team. I get that they, you might not want to kill off a beloved character, but if you'd have killed off. Ghost, was he even in the first Modern Warfare?
No, I don't think it was. Or maybe he was in right at the end, maybe, or in
So what they should have done, really, there's a lot of Ghost in this game. He's on the front cover of the case, What they should have done is they should have killed Ghost off halfway through the game. And then because you're not that attached to him, he's a core member of the team, and you're sort of like, fuck these guys, man, they killed Ghost, and then towards the end of the game, spoilers again, all the team come together and they call themselves Ghost Team, and they all put on ghost masks. That would have been like a good like homage to Ghost. We're doing it for our fallen brother. We're all Ghost. Nah, we're just all looking like him because he looks cool. And his name's Simon. Like, what the fuck?
Simon Riley.
Right, Simon? Good to see you again, Simon. Yeah, what the fuck's that about? The whole team, I've got another note, and this is sort of more sub-notes I have for the story not living up to Modern Warfare 1. This whole thing seems to be an American problem, and it's the English and the Mexicans that are coming to their aid.
And
so are there no American soldiers that like can be on the team?
Yeah, I
sort
think
out their own problems. I don't know. Why does Captain Price give a damn?
Yeah, I think the reason why it is like that is because of the whole story where it's like, oh, they lost the missile, and that's why they're using Shadow Company, and then a bunch of like random SAS dudes, because I guess they don't want to involve like the US military. But yeah, it doesn't really make any sense, really.
But how is surely, it's a chain of command in the army or whatever. are Price's bosses just like, yeah, our top unit just go over to America and just do their thing, I guess, aren't they? You know, I don't. How did they clear that? I don't know.
The paperwork.
Yeah. So another note is that it just ends. The story just ends, and I was literally there, like, oh, I think I was on mic to you, and I was sort of like, oh, is that it? Oh, now it's the credits. Like, what the hell happened? Straight up not satisfying. There's 3 main bad guys in the game. One of them just gets let go, or we don't see what happens to her at all. One of them is a character called Graves, who you can tell a mile off that he's the bad guy. He's a good guy at the beginning, but he's like proper like weedy American guy with a proper high pitched voice and a big scar down his face, and you're sort of like, right, he's going to be the bad guy. He comes at you in a tank in this pretty bad mission where you have to just keep throwing C4 down.
Yeah, awful.
And you blow up his tank, and the characters just walk away. And I was like, okay, well, that wasn't satisfying, so he's not dead. Like, he's coming back. Nah, he's dead. He's just gone. You don't see him. There's nothing. There's no, like, big, like, oh, like, fuck you, blah, blah, blah. I get shot down. Nah, it's like, you didn't even get out the tank. You just blow it up. Mm-hmm. And you walk away. Same with Hassan. Hassan is basically in a fist fight with some guy in a building, and you just snipe him. And it's an easy shot. It's not even like it's a really hard shot or something. It's an easy shot. Oh, there he is. He's a bold guy. You know, his head's shining in the moonlight. Bam. There we go. Credits.
Yeah.
It was just sort of like
the silly thing is that, you know, what do you remember the most from the original Modern Warfare games? Like, you remember, like, you know, killing Makarov and killing like Zakayev or whatever his name is, or like Shepard and things. You know what I mean? Like with the knife, and it's like there's loads of like memorable like final showdowns in it. But in this, it was just there wasn't any. Like there was nothing like that where you think, oh, that was really really cool, or like, you know, satisfying.
Yeah, they should have just done a big like Die Hard and like a big Hans Gruber death, and just have Soap like boot him out the window or something and watch him go down,
or just like
instead of like pop. Oh,
but you know, like the thing's like it's an 18 as well. Like they could get away with like, you know, a bloody fist fight. You know, where you know what I mean. It could be so much more interesting, you know, than what it was.
So I also have a note on the the story didn't live up to Modern Warfare 1, which is that I didn't think there was enough Farah or Middle Eastern stuff in this.
No,
game.
Yeah. So the thing that I loved about the first one is the setting. So the Urzikstan, I think it's called. And Farah was a great character, and she was in like most of the first game, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And she's in like one mission in this.
It's annoying because the first game, I get that they might not want to do the Middle Eastern thing again, but the first game was all about like the horrors of like war, and like there's a mission where you play as Farah as a child with her brother, and you're like crawling past dead bodies, and it's horrible, you know. And there just isn't that in this game. There's none of that at all. Not enough Farah. And then the last point I have on this point is that some sections were really hard. Even I played it on standard difficulty, and some sections were so hard that I had to literally just sprint past all the enemies and just sprint to the next checkpoint.
Yeah,
I couldn't do it.
You call it hard. I call it tedious.
Yeah.
And there's the crafting thing in that alone mission that is really tedious.
So I have a lot about alone coming up. My next point though is that, and this is where we sort of are divided a little bit, because we had completely different experiences playing this game. My experience was, this game is so buggy. Bug City. Not quite Cyberpunk bad, but still fucking bad, you know? If you follow us on Facebook, not Facebook. If you follow us on YouTube, you'll see some of the bugs in the recent YouTube shorts we've been putting up. But it's just Bugzilla. There were some missions, some bugs I had quite a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times. It was game breaking. Like, I could not continue the game because the bugs would not allow me. One of them was in that mission alone, where, you know, I'm sat behind a door just chilling. Guard opens the door. I can't get out the door. So I refresh the load or whatever. It's checkpointed me behind the goddamn door. I had to replay 40 minutes of that alone mission, which is probably one of the worst missions, if not the worst mission in the game.
It's close.
Yeah, super buggy, but wasn't for you, bro.
No, no. Seriously, I'm not just saying this to be like a dick. I didn't really have any issues with it. I played it like a week before it came out because I had the Vault edition. And yeah, I honestly didn't really have any problems with the campaign in terms of glitches.
Well, that's good. You know, I mean, it's good to know that it's not like crap for everyone, because then that's like a really bad launch. But you know, I've since done a bit of research, and I'm not alone. Like, there are a lot of people that are having real problems with bugs on this game. It's probably one of the worst COD launches that I can remember in a long time, like, in terms of how buggy the campaign is. I had glitches where every time I looked left, every single like asset would load out. So it'd just be like a barren landscape, and then I look right and I can see it all pop in my peripherals. So I just couldn't. I guess I just can't look left in this mission, you know? Like,
it's a shame because like CODs normally release like pretty polished. Normally,
yeah.
Vanguard was a bit of a shitfest, but normally they release in a pretty good state. Yeah.
Another point I have is that I am so bored of the whole narco cartel thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm really bored of it. I didn't like the Narcos TV show. Obviously, Breaking Bad was, you know, very good. But it just, everything is doing this whole, like, Mexican cartel drug thing, and I just don't care for it. I know that's me personally, but I'm quite disappointed that this game decided to do, like, 3/4 of its campaign about this whole cartel thing. I mean, there is one mission where you infiltrate like a cartel sort of drug house, and that's a good mission, but still, I'm just kind of tired of it. Like, I just don't care for it very much. What do you think of the cartel narco thing?
I didn't find it as interesting as the kind of setting of the first game, you know, but yeah. I thought it was interesting. I quite enjoyed a lot. I would say a lot of the cartel missions I quite enjoyed, maybe with the exception of Alone. I quite enjoyed a lot of them, like, you know, where you're kind of running down the hill away from them. That's pretty fun. Yeah,
to be fair, I thought when you're jumping from like rock to rock, I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought Alejandro is interesting character. And I'm guessing he's probably going to be in it more. Like, he's going to be in the next game, I'm guessing. Yeah.
I kind of hope he does. Him and Rodolfo, or whatever his name was.
Rodrigo.
I thought they were pretty good additions to. I just like how pissed off he was the whole game.
Yeah.
There's not one moment where he's like, nice one, you know. He's like, vaqueros, orale, oh, the whole time, you know. Fucking pissed. That dude is pissed.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I think, like I say, in the cutscenes, it's really impressive, actually. Like, the actors are kind of really coming through in the cutscenes. Yeah.
What I would say is you have to play this game with subtitles, because there's a lot of Spanish in this game, and if you don't have the subtitles on, it won't pop up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, who doesn't play with subtitles? But yeah, make sure you have the subtitles on. Right, here's a point that I'm quite interested in. I think that there were some new mechanics in this game that were not good. And possibly the worst mechanic, I think, and we've spoken about this a lot. Hamby, you briefly mentioned crafting a minute ago. We'll get to that next. But I think that the armoured enemies that get introduced about a quarter of the way through the game suck.
There's too many of them.
Like, there's too many of them, and it takes you out of the immersion when enemies suddenly become sponges. Because up to that point, you know, Call of Duty, the campaign's very different from the multiplayer. It's like one pop, one shot, and you've killed a guy, which makes it feel so realistic. You know, you're just like dropping dudes one shot. No matter where you shoot them in the leg, they're going to go down, and maybe they'll reach for a weapon, but they're still down. It totally takes you out of it, yeah, when you're putting whole clips into guys, just spraying them, And I said to you, Hamby, there was a moment where there was a guy and he was kind of crouched in front of me. I was like, right, I'm gonna aim at your unprotected parts, like. So I started shooting at his knees because I could see that he didn't have like armor on his knees. I was spraying at him, blood was flying out of his knees, going everywhere, and it was just coming up with the kind of the armor symbol on the screen, and he was just shooting back at me, and I'm thinking, Jesus, bro, you've got no knees left. Like, how are you still going? Yeah. And it just takes you out of it. Like, I think IGN mentioned it on their review, and they said on those missions they should have given you armor as well, so at least like it was equal ground, but it's not. It's just
I felt like honestly, it feels like at times you're playing like Halo, like the amount of like fucking like bullet sponges like these things are. But like there was one mission in particular. It was and I enjoyed the mission on the whole. It was the prison one when you're breaking out of prison. Yeah, and like there was one bit that took me ages to do. It's the bit where you're in like the prison courtyard or prison like cafeteria.
Yeah,
and like two lots of like armored guys come out, and there's no cover, and it's like, okay, so you just basically have to just like run around and like gun them down. But
I had the same thing in the alone mission where, and that was the bit where I couldn't do it. Like, I've got 30 rounds, you send in 10, 15 armored guys at me. I can't do it. Like, I have to just run. Crafting. So you mentioned briefly crafting items. There's a mission called Alone, which is probably the longest mission in the game. I think the runtime is about an hour.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's a really crappy mission.
Well, it's weird, right? Because at the start of the mission, so spoilers, Graves, who up to this point was on your team, turns on you. He shoots you, shoots you playing as Soap. He shoots Ghost. Both of you have to run away. So Ghost, you're playing as Soap. He's bleeding out. He can't really walk very well, and he's got no weapons. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Call of Duty's doing a stealth section. About 10 minutes later, I was sick of it. And there's another 50 minutes to go. Like, you can barely move. You're having to like, oh, there's a guy there. I can't tackle him. I've got to walk around him or something. And then it introduces this new mechanic, which is the guerrilla warfare, and Ghost even goes like, "Welcome to guerrilla warfare," over the headset or whatever. And what that means is that you will come across loads of like locked doors, locked cases, guards, and what you have to do is you have to find endless rolls of duct tape and pieces of rope and random little bits of metal to craft things. And I know I really didn't like this, but you really didn't like it, Hamby.
I think it was like the first thing that I said to you after I completed the campaign. Because I think I completed it before you. I said, like, that's by far the biggest. And it comes back later in the game as well on like the final mission, is it? Yeah. And it's not as bad as the final mission because it's not as long. But yeah, I just think it was way too much. I appreciate them like trying to try different things and trying to add things into like the kind of COD formula. Like that's great, but like it was just way too much. And I think that I just think it was. I think it was done in a pretty poor way. In that, like, although like it makes it look like you've got a lot of freedom of how you want to go about stuff, you actually haven't. Because like you have to go the way that they tell you to do, and I really did not like it.
I found that I didn't, apart from the pry tool, which you have to craft to get through some doors, I didn't use any of the other stuff. I didn't use the smoke bombs. I didn't use anything. Or the only other thing I used was when you craft a bit of glass or something to stab a guy. As soon as you kill one guy, you can pick up his gun. So like, yeah, the crafting took ages as well. Like, he fully brings it on the screen, he wraps the rope around it, he puts the tape on it. Like, don't know, just didn't like it. And related to the crafting items is the backpack. Now, there's loads of missions in this game where you push up and it brings you, rather than just having like one set of tactical and one set of lethals, you have a whole backpack, and you have maybe 6 or 7 different things that you can use, like frags, flashbangs, stun grenades, that sort of thing. Now, I hated that. Some people might love it because you're like, well, I've got all this stuff, look at all the options I have. I hate it, man. Too much choice. Let me know if I got frags and I've got flashbangs. Right, that's it. That's what I need for this mission. I really did not like the backpack thing. Because also, you have to stop, you have to get into cover, you have to push up, you have to select what you want, you have to equip it, you have to close the backpack, and then you have to redo that every time. I just thought, I thought that was a swing and a miss, the backpack mechanic. Right, the last point I have for the cons is I thought that there were some great innovations from previous games that for some reason were left out of this game. And really, the biggest one that I'm talking about is the moving while mounted. So in Vanguard, when you mount on something, one of the big innovations from the previous game was that now, when you're mounted, you can move along that cover and stay mounted. And this is in campaign and in multi. And it was really good, because you don't then have to keep getting out of mount, And for some reason, they just decided that they weren't going to use that in this game. Which is annoying, because, yeah, like, if you want to move, you have to unmount, you have to then go back up to it and then mount again. Like, why would you take that out? It's a good feature. I just don't understand why they would take that out. And the other thing, this is multiplayer, but I guess this is a good segue to the next section, which is multiplayer, is the battle pacings mechanic that they put in there in Vanguard, where you could choose, between 3 different pacings. I think it was something like tactical, probably like regular, and then blitz. On all the maps, so you could have a tiny map and you could play it with only a few people, or you could play it as a shitfest with like 20 people. Why would you take that out? Again, why would you take it out? I don't understand it. I've said a million times on this podcast, Vanguard gets a lot of hate, but I don't understand why. I thought it was a great game, and that battle pacing thing, probably one of the best things about the multi on that game. Excuse me. Right, that's the sort of the rant is over when it comes to the cons of the single player. We're just over an hour. How's about we move on to the multiplayer, and then we'll do our little overviews. Right, so I've got sort of when it comes to multiplayer, I've got like a mix of pros and cons. So let's just go through like the general thoughts we have of the multiplayer. I'll start. I think that the multiplayer is very tight.
Yep.
It plays well. It feels good. Sounds great. I'm happy with it.
I think it takes. I mean, like, I feel like with Call of Duty players, there's kind of people who like the kind of Modern Warfare style, and there's people who like the Black Ops style. And I definitely fall into the Modern Warfare style. Like, I really, really like the Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Always liked it, even the original games. So, yeah, for me, like, it plays like Modern Warfare 2019. That's fantastic. 'Cause that game has... I was still playing the multiplayer of Modern Warfare up until Modern Warfare 2 came out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it was a standard for us.
Yeah.
Shipment, shitfest.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it feels great, and it runs really, really well as well on the new X.
It definitely does. Yeah, it plays amazingly well. I've got a note that says that the guns are really cool, but sort of a side con to that is that there are loads of guns with the same name, so it gets pretty confusing. There's about 3 different guns called the Lackman with like just different numbers after them. Same with the AKs. I can't quite remember what the AKs are called in this game, but the AK name, there's Cast Up, there's 3 of them, it's a little bit confusing because we'll get to it, but how you sort of rank weapons and things, it'll say you need to get the cast off so and so to this, and you have to just be like, hang on, isn't that this one? You have to just read into it a bit more. I think they should have just named the guns like MP5, FAMAS, Desert Eagle, like just call it what it is, instead of calling it like the Lachman 226 or something,
Yeah. I got a con, so
go on, Em.
I think the menu system sucks. The user interface of the menu of the whole game, in fact, not just the multiplayer, it just sucks. Like the user interface for the multiplayer has been pretty consistent from Modern Warfare, Cold War, Vanguard, and in my opinion, it worked pretty well. Everything's laid out the way that you expect it to be, and this one kind of it looks like Netflix.
It does, yeah. It does look like Netflix. Everything is moving towards that kind of tiled approach.
Yeah.
And it's unnecessary.
I don't get it. And the other thing as well, like the worst thing I was looking at yesterday when I was playing, I was looking at camos. I don't know if you've looked at them. But the way that you look at camos...
Briefly today I looked at some camos.
It's so hard to see what you've unlocked and what you haven't. Because it's like these little tiles with like this really like faint like lock symbol.
It's really grey as well, isn't it?
Can't see. It's like
even the ones you've unlocked, they're like grey.
Yeah.
So you can't really see it.
It's really bad. The user interface.
I spent ages earlier trying to edit my like clan tag, my little calling card or whatever. They've made it so hard to find that stuff. Fully agree with you there. The menu is pretty bad. A point I have is that the game modes we have at launch are boring. They're good. Like we've got the classics: TDM, deathmatch, hardpoint, domination, headquarters, kill confirmed. All those obviously tried and tested game modes. We love them, but we've played them a million times. The new game modes they're trying to do this thing where Call of Duty is trying to sort of corner the battle. Is it Battlefield or Battlefront?
Both, really, but Battlefield pretty mainly.
They're trying to corner that market with the huge maps and the 30 versus 30 thing. In my opinion, those big map game modes on this game suck.
Yeah,
I think they're crap. I don't think that's not what Call of Duty is about. I don't want to be shooting bots that are stood in the middle of the street shooting up at me doing nothing, So all we have, we've got those few game modes, about 3 game modes or something. No, not 3. All the ones I listed. You've got those all available in 6v6. But there's only 10 maps at launch. Like, I know we're at launch. They're not going to be like, here's everything. But 10 maps, there was 11, but one of the maps from the beta, which was probably one of my favourite ones, the museum map, is gone. Like they got rid of that. So there's only 10 maps at launch, and I would say that only 4 of those are any good. I know other people might not agree with me, but I think that only 4 of them are good, and I also think that Team Deathmatch and Deathmatch straight up do not work on a lot of these maps.
Yeah, a lot of the maps that people are complaining about, so like Border Crossing, I actually don't think Border Crossing is that bad. I think when you're playing objective game modes, it's okay. It's an okay map. The problem is that when you play like Border Crossing on TDM, there's no like middle point to the map.
No, there isn't. Yeah,
and everyone's going, "Oh, it's the worst COD map ever." I don't know if I go that far, but it's not great.
It's not the worst ever, but I do think it is a bad map. I mean, I do enjoy it more on the objective-based game modes, but like I said to you, it's too cluttered. There's just too much stuff going on that map. It's a straight line, and there's just a shit ton of cars. And so all it takes is someone just throw a frag, and the cars will go off like dominoes, and it's just like
I think it's an interesting idea for a map, actually. Like I think it's actually genuinely quite an interesting idea. Like, and I think what they wanted people to do was to like people to be a bit more tactical, like going through the middle of the cars and like spotting people. Yeah. So I think it's okay. It's
I found a Easter egg in that map actually. Did you know that the RV in the middle of the map is actually the same RV from Breaking Bad?
Is it really?
And it has the same taped up bullet holes in the door. It's full on. It's the RV. It's Walter and Jesse's RV is in that map in the middle.
Yeah. I think
the spawns aren't great. Sorry, man. What were you saying?
I would say I think in terms of the maps, I think, well, from what I've found, I think a lot of the maps they're not great for the kind of style of play that I personally have, which is kind of running and gunning. The maps, I think, kind of encourage a little bit more of a cautious way of playing, as in like as in like they're bigger, there's more open spaces, so they kind of encourage people to be a little bit more, cautious and not kind of just running around like a lunatic with an SMG. That's fine. I think they should probably have maps that cater to that maybe a little bit. Have both. Have it so that people have to mix up their play styles depending on what map they play.
I agree, and I think that I just hope that... I mean, I sort of hope and I know that, in time we're going to get more maps.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're definitely going to get shipment.
I would be surprised if it wasn't coming in Season 1, actually. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is... What we're reviewing here is literally like the launch version of this game, It sounds like we've got a lot of bad stuff to say about it. I really enjoy this game. I think the multi is very good.
Yep.
I'm just, you're always super critical about things you enjoy. The weapon unlock system is weird. The perks are weird.
The weapon unlock system has kind of grown on me. Like, because it's kind of like I've kind of been forced to like use guns that I wouldn't normally bother with. I quite like it in a way. Because it's like, I've used a shotgun, but I wouldn't normally use a shotgun, but...
I understand what it's trying to do, like you said, it's making you use weapons you wouldn't use. However, I don't think it's good. Like, for example, earlier today, just before this podcast, I unlocked my favourite gun in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is the Fennec, right? It's I think, as you said, Hamby, you spaff it up the wall, It's that sort of game. But I unlocked it and I was like, right, I'm putting a red dot sight on it. Oh, hang on. To unlock the red dot sight, you need to rank this gun to level 13. To get that gun, you need to rank this gun to level 13. So I just unlocked a gun that I want to play with, and I can't play with it because I don't have a goddamn scope for it. What nonsense is that? I don't know. I do get what you mean on some of them. Like, for example, I'm working my way up to try and get a sniper at the minute, and it's making me play with 3 other sniper rifles, and I get it, and I'm like, oh god, I gotta play with this, and then I'm like, actually, I kind of like this. So what I've done is I keep making extra classes with all these different weapons in it,
But the thing is,
so I'm working my way through it, but I don't like that.
But the thing is, like, the sniper rifle thing makes sense. I've had quite a few where it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Where it's like, you've got to rank up this LMG, then you unlock this SMG, then you it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah,
it's
like the one pretty early on, me and you both decided that we wanted to get like the game's MP5, and in order to unlock the MP5, one of the first things you have to do is rank up like a single shot battle rifle.
Sucks.
Yeah, I mean, like I quite enjoy single shot rifles, so I was a bit more familiar with it. But what the hell? It's a completely different thing. It's a completely different play style. Like, why would it do that to you? I think that the problem is a lot of people are going to be put off, and they're going to be like, "Fuck it, I'm going to use the M4."
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Most people are. Most people are just literally. That's why everyone's like, "Oh, the M4 is the meta." And it's like, I don't think it is the meta. I think it's just that that's the first gun people play with, and they can't be asked to like try anything else. It's like,
and the thing is, it's a good gun as well.
Well, hold on. What's your so quick question from playing so far? What's your favorite gun?
I don't think I can say because I have been jumping constantly.
Okay.
I really enjoy. I've just recently been playing with the AK today. Really enjoy that.
Probably my favourite.
I've been working my way through. So I've ranked the Lockwood all the way up, the sort of repeating single shot. I've ranked another sniper rifle all the way up. I would probably say that I'm having the most fun at the minute with the sniper/marksman rifle class. I've been using pretty much all of them, so
yeah,
I don't think I could say for sure. But like I say, I just got the Fennec, so I'm like, here we go, and I can't play with it. I need to rank the Lachman sub up to like rank 19 or something just to get the scope I want.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I think probably the AK, so the 7.62, but I'm kind of working my way through the cast-off stuff. So the next one, I'm on the cast-off 5.45 now, but the next one is the 7.4U. So I'm kind of working my way through all those guns. And then the other thing, I think the payoff to get the MP5 is worth it. I think the MP5 is a really fun gun.
It is a fun gun. As I say, I'm using that at the minute because I want the little circular red dot sight for my Fennec, and to get that you have to rank the MP5 up to like rank 16 or something.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing currently. But no, I've worked my way through all of the single shot rifles because I'm basically trying to recreate my Modern Warfare class, which was a Fennec and a bolt action sniper rifle. So there's a good looking bolt action sniper rifle, but you've got to unlock a load of stuff first. But no, I've played a lot of different weapons, and there's a lot of ones that I like. Yeah, the SMG, the AKs. Some good guns. Briefly, the perks. The perk system is weird. This is the first time ever that they have shaken up the perk system this much, and I still do not understand it. I don't get it. It seems to be that the perks kind of unlock as you play.
Yeah, that's exactly how they work. Yeah.
Yeah. I just don't understand it, and it's just sort of taken a little bit of the fun out of it because, like, I kind of liked how
What's
it was.
not to understand?
Because it's sort of like I just didn't like what makes them unlock. Is it just time played?
Score.
Is it like? So it's how well you perform.
Yeah. So whether you're getting kills, objectives, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay.
And the other thing they introduced as well in this, which they've kind of given you the option of doing like the Cold War kill streak thing as well. So you now have the option of having your kill streak unlocked by score.
Oh, I like that.
So if you're playing, like, if you're really big into your objective game modes like domination, and maybe you don't end up getting as many kills as you would otherwise, you can get score streaks now, which is like what they had in Cold War. So
I actually liked that about Cold War because I often, on like Modern Warfare 1, there was a perk called Point Man, I think. And what that did was that changed it so that your kill streaks were based on points rather.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that sounds all right. What I will say though is to sort of end this multiplayer section. Sounds like we're shitting all over it. As I said, we're reviewing the launch version of this game. You can tell that there's loads of opportunity for more game modes and maps.
We've still got Warzone 2 to come out.
Yeah.
And also DMZ, which is like another game mode alongside Warzone, which is brand new, So like the game still has, and people, maybe not me, but like people love Warzone a lot. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah, same.
So
I think we're always like, God, let's do this, and then we get killed straight away, and we're like, fuck Warzone, man. Yeah,
it does kind of suck a lot, Warzone, sometimes.
I mean, we have only, I don't know if this is still the case with you, but it is for me. We have only ever had that one win on Warzone.
On Battle Royale.
On Battle Royale.
On Resurgence, we've had loads.
Oh yeah, on Rebirth and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's not like full Warzone. You know?
Yeah.
We've had that one win, and I mean, it was Cloud9 like over the world, but like
that was like in the middle of like the first COVID lockdown, and it was like, oh,
it was, yeah. And I think it was just we just sort of were like, let's change our style, and rather than like run and hide from everyone, every single red dot we see on that map, let's fucking go for it.
We were really
and before
aggressive.
Before you know it, we were, there was 3 guys left.
Yeah,
you know?
And I always remember the last like final showdown, because it was like, I think I went down, and then like Tom.
Didn't you like sacrifice yourself?
I managed to get like one of the other guys on the squad, and then like I went down, and then I think like, but we were really tactical about it, and it was like Tomo like ran in and gunned them all down. I think.
he sort of, I think what it was I had a sniper, and I was like, where is he, and he came out of the bush to kill you, and then I was like, oh, I got you, bastard. It was very fun, but you know, for that one game where we won, there was like 100 games where we failed.
The thing with Warzone, I just get people are so fucking sweaty on it. Like it's like and that's the thing I was going to say that I like about this new Modern Warfare, is that because you don't get rewarded for like sliding all over the place as much. In the kind of like Vanguard was bad for it, but like Warzone and Vanguard and stuff, like that's how people played. They like sliding all over the place and jumping and stuff. And in this one, like I don't think you do as well playing like that.
You don't, because I have come across so many people that are jumping round corners. But hey, you're just making yourself a bigger target for me to hit. I don't get that tactic at all.
It could all change when Warzone 2 comes out. They might change it up and make it shit again. But
all right then. Well, that's all the points I have to say about multiplayer. How's about we sort of wrap this whole thing up by giving a quick sort of overview, what you thought of it, maybe give it a score out of 10. I'll go first. I would say that it's kind of disappointing considering how good Modern Warfare 1 was. I've said before that Modern Warfare 1 is probably my favourite Call of Duty game ever, which is weird because I was always an old school like World War II kind of guy, but Modern Warfare 1 2019 changed that for me, and now I'm all about that tactical room clearing, Captain Price like fucking hell Gaz kind of thing. But it was still very enjoyable. Like the game is still really enjoyable. I'd still recommend it to people. Overall, I give the game a 7 out of 10. Now that might sound a little bit low, but here's my reasoning for that, right? The campaign, for me, gets a 6 out of 10. The campaign was a disappointment, unfortunately. Like, it was. It's a letdown. Story-wise, you know, visually and gameplay, it's great, but the campaign, story-wise, 6 out of 10. The multiplayer, 8 out of 10. The multiplayer is good. You know, I'm not going to give it a 9 out of 10, because 9 out of 10 is, like, top-line territory. Like, maybe Red Dead 2 gets a 9 out of 10, but this game, multiplayer gets an 8 out of 10. Average those out, 7 out of 10 for me. I'd really recommend it. Really enjoyable. Single player leaves a lot to be desired, but multiplayer has a lot of potential. Hammers, what about you, bro?
Yeah, I'm going to go exactly the same with you on the score.
Okay.
I think the campaign, I think it tries to do a lot of like new things, but I think it kind of like missed what fundamentally made a COD campaign enjoyable, which is like high stakes, typical COD missions, I would say. So, you know, I think, but like you say, I think visually it's great. I like the characters. It just kind of left me wanting a little bit more at the end of it.
Definitely.
And it kind of felt like, especially at the end of it, it felt like it was maybe setting up for Warzone or Spec Ops or whatever it is they're planning on doing, which I don't like, because I don't play those things for story.
Well, it was exactly the same as Vanguard, wasn't it? Vanguard literally ends with like, "Hey, let's go to Warzone, Caldera, man."
Yeah.
You know, like it's literally the same thing.
So, yeah, a bit disappointing. So I'd say 6 out of 10. Multiplayer.
I gave it a set. Oh, hang on, campaign.
The campaign, yeah. And multiplayer is really, really fun. I'm having a blast with it. I like one thing we haven't mentioned, like I haven't. Oh, okay. One thing that we haven't mentioned that I probably should have put in the cons is how goddamn glitchy it is when you're playing with other people, like in parties. Like it is. It is really fucking difficult to play with other people in parties. It constantly boots you out. Anyway, so like that aside, I've had fun. It's a fun multiplayer. I'm looking forward. I've got the battle pass because I got the Vault Edition for season 1, so I will probably I'll probably be playing Call of Duty quite a lot over the next few months, which is fine because I love it and it's a great game. But I think the multiplayer is strong on the whole, so I would give it an 8 out of 10, and it averages out 7 out of 10.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
It's a good game.
I think we agree on a lot of stuff. Yeah, it is a good game. I was going to say, it sounds like, we've had a lot more cons than we had pros, but I still would really recommend this game. Like I've recommended it to a few people today. I'm sort of like, you'd love it. Like it's a good game. It's just not as good as Modern Warfare 1. It is in some respects, like graphically and gameplay, gunplay wise, but and like I said, and you said, you can see how they can add a lot of stuff to the multiplayer. So I've got high hopes for the multiplayer, and I think it's going to deliver, because if it's anything like Modern Warfare 1 multi, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, there we are then. 7 out of 10 from both of us. As I said before we started this review, let us know what you thought of the game. Send us an email, dudewutpodcast@gmail.com, or comment on the Instagram post when I do post one out. Of course, this episode is coming out a little bit later this week, so there's probably a few people that are like, oh my god, there's no Dude What this week. It's coming. It'll be out tomorrow. So today, right now, because you're listening to it. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hamby, it was fantastic to have you on, bro. Thanks for sort of doing this completely different day of the week. But yeah, I appreciate you being there, man.
Absolutely.
So I think we've said that we are going to go off for a little bit. We're going to have some dins, and then we're going to sort of regroup for some more multiplayer tonight, which I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely.
All right, so, as I said, get in touch, dudewutpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/dudewutpodcast. We're on Instagram, of course. Instagram/dudewutpodcast. How you can really help us out is leave us a 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. Some of them let you do it in-app now, like Spotify. You can literally just tap and give 5 stars. So give us 5 stars, please. It shares us in the algorithms and things and gets new people listening to us. Recommend us to friends, family, and people you hate. And if you want to be a super fan, what you can do is you can go to buymeacoffee.com/dudewutpodcast, or go to our link tree, which is posted pretty much everywhere. Scroll down, there's a link there for Buy Me a Coffee. On that site, you have the option to leave anything between £1 and £5. Just leave what you can. Don't worry about what you can't. If you really love this podcast, anything that you do leave will go back in towards the general running of this podcast. And if you want to be a producer, there's an option on there. £2 a month makes you a producer, and what that gives you is basically a hard line to us. So you can recommend things, you can chat to us, and also when we start getting producers, we are going to be doing a shout out every single week, thanking all the producers. So that's where you can find us. That's how you can get in touch. We will be doing I didn't ask you actually, Hamby. I'm hoping you'll join me to do a live stream tomorrow night. Friday night on some COD.
Don't see why not.
Cool. I think it'll just be me and you because Tomo. Oh, maybe he'll have it by Friday. Actually, hopefully Tomo lad will join us as well, which will be very cool.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So we'll be back on Friday for a live stream, and we, of course, hopefully will be back with another podcast at the usual day of Tuesday next week. So take it easy, everyone. Thanks for listening to us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.